Okay, we are live, and I shouldn't have even left the apartment. I don't know why I thought that we could do anything during this year's NFL free agency period. I thought we were mainly done, and we got Deshaun Watson going over to Cleveland. And of course, this is the biggest deal that we have seen. I know we had Russell Wilson to Denver. I know we had Devontae Adams to Las Vegas. But if you are looking at the impact that Deshaun Watson himself makes for this Cleveland Browns offense, and Deshaun Watson, I mean, now immediately becoming, I want to say, a top 5 quarterback in Dynasty, a top 5 pick overall in Dynasty startup drafts. We'll get to that and exactly where I'm going to be ranking him in just 1 second. But you know what I got to ask you to do? I got to ask you to fix your life by going down there, dropping a like on this video, subscribing to the channel only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's going to be the only thing you find on this channel. Like I've said so many times before, yes, if you are here looking for Deshaun Watson news, you're going to get it. But going forward every single day, it will just be Dynasty, Dynasty, Dynasty. And let me hear your thoughts in the comment section below. But, oh God, let's go through and look at this. And one thing that I want to bring up right away. And I know people are going to be laughing at me in the comment section, but this is an initial reaction. Okay. This happened literally probably 5 minutes ago. I've known for this 5 minutes. Now we are about to get going in a couple startup drafts here. The Flock 7 startup draft. I have the 105, the 5th pick overall. So we can assume you got Mahomes, Josh Allen off the board at the 101, the 102. Most likely, still going to see Justin Herbert go at the 103. But where it gets interesting is after that point. Does Deshaun Watson immediately go up into the tier ahead of Joe Burrow, ahead of Kyler Murray, right next to Jonathan Taylor? I think it's an interesting conversation to have. Now, of course, the overall situation that he is stepping into, it's probably not as favorable as what you have in Cincinnati, where this team's coming out of a Super Bowl appearance with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins as incredibly young options next to Joe Burrow. But let me pull up some Deshaun Watson statistics and kind of show how dominant Watson has been throughout his career from a fantasy football perspective. Now, with Deshaun Watson, I mean, obviously, he has been a great real-life NFL quarterback as well. I don't want to take that away from him in the slightest, and I'm not trying to. But what I also want to illustrate is how the rushing upside puts him in that elite tier. So, obviously, Deshaun Watson, drafted in 2017, that same class where you had so many great players. I mean, that same class where you had Patrick Mahomes. And here with Deshaun Watson, let's go back to his first year in the league. Let's go back to 2017, and you're going to see that he only played 7 games. And in those 7 games, he came out and threw for 19 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions. If you compare this to what we had with this past year's quarterback class, compare this to Justin Fields, compare this to Trevor Lawrence, it's laughable. But what's very interesting is if you look at a points per game basis, his rookie year, take a guess. Points per game. He only played 7 games, but still, it's a large enough sample to look at. Where do you think Deshaun Watson ranked among quarterbacks in 2017 on a per game basis? Let's get the chat going. Let's get some guesses in here. We're going to do this season by season. And of course, we have other things to talk about. We have someone in the chat saying Amari Cooper, wide receiver 1, question mark. Oh yeah, we're going to get to Amari right after I say that Amari Cooper's dead in Cleveland. Of course, everything changes. Okay, so we have Brendan saying that Deshaun Watson was the 3rd quarterback overall. No, Deshaun Watson was not quarterback 3. I mean, of course, if he was quarterback 3, that would be unbelievable. I mean, imagine Trevor Lawrence coming in this past year in his rookie season, putting up a quarterback 3 finish. Let's kind of get some context going with what we just saw from these 2021 quarterbacks in Trevor Lawrence, in Justin Fields, where Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback 35. Justin Fields was the quarterback 37. Zach Wilson, the quarterback 36. Mac Jones, the quarterback 33, all on a points per game basis. Deshaun Watson, his rookie season, the quarterback 1 overall on a per game basis. Of course, small sample, but then you go to 2018, his 2nd year in the league. coming off a significant injury. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback 4, a top 5 option. Yet again, you go to 2019 with Deshaun Watson. I mean, this is a quarterback that's in a pretty crappy situation. And remember, this 2019 season, this is already after the Patrick Mahomes emergence. This is already after the Lamar Jackson emergence. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback 2 on a points per game basis. This is the quarterback that we are looking at. I mean, let's go to 2020. Let's just keep up this trend. And keep in mind, with this Houston Texans roster, the second that Deshaun Watson stepped away, this came from being a team that was always in the wild card hunt, a team that was always going to have a decent offense, to all of a sudden the worst team in the NFL. And it happened overnight. Once you knew that Deshaun Watson was not going to be playing for the Houston Texans, nobody had any hope whatsoever for Watson. He comes out, he's a top 10 quarterback yet again this season. The quarterback 7 on a per game basis. So throughout his entire career, Deshaun Watson, his worst finish we have ever seen is the quarterback 7. Now, if you compare this to other options at the top, I mean, he's a unique case where he probably has a higher floor and ceiling than any quarterback not named Mahomes or Josh Allen. Now, of course, some people would make the argument that age plays into this. Now, I wish I had screenshots of our Dynasty book, research book, that I could just throw up real quick, but that book is over 100 pages, so it would take me a little bit of time. But Deshaun Watson's 26 years old. Quarterbacks are lasting consistently until they're 36, 37. And Deshaun Watson is not Lamar Jackson. He's not someone that really relies on his athleticism, and that's how he gets all this production, and that's how he's an elite level. No, Deshaun Watson is an elite level NFL passer at the same time. So Deshaun Watson, he will last another 10 years in the NFL. So his age doesn't matter at all. I mean, it couldn't matter any less. Let's go to a quarterback that's in that same division. I know it looks like Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow just got here, right? You would imagine Joe Burrow is significantly younger than Deshaun Watson. Joe Burrow, 25 years old, about 13, 14 months younger than Deshaun Watson. They are the exact same age. Like, I think that we have to go through and move Deshaun Watson to the quarterback 4. I think you still have to have him probably behind Justin Herbert. The reason being is with Herbert, I mean, he just looks like a special guy. And I think that the situation in Los Angeles is probably better with the weapons that are placed around him with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, an improving offensive line as well. And based on what we just saw from Justin Herbert this past season. But still, I think you could even possibly make an argument. And I'm not saying this right now. This is just an initial reaction. There could be an argument to be made that Deshaun Watson is the 103, only behind Mahomes and Allen. This is going to be something I have to think a lot about because y'all know I already said that I'm in 2 days kicking off a startup draft where I have the 5th pick overall. And in 4 days, I'm kicking off another Flock startup draft where I have the 3rd pick overall. Now, I will flex on everybody here. JN is already saying it in the chat. We actually took Deshaun Watson in the 3rd round of a startup just like 2 weeks ago or so. Of course, that's feeling, I mean, that makes you feel great. Also makes me feel great. What have we always talked about? What I've said is the NFL is not here to play judge and jury. The NFL is only here to make money. And what we always said is the NFL is a business. They stand to make a lot more money if Deshaun Watson's playing versus if he's not. So I'm going to probably bet that Watson's making it back to the NFL, which is why we were buying low on him last offseason, and which is why we've been consistently going out there and trading for Deshaun Watson and drafting Deshaun Watson in best ball formats. And I could not be more excited. But now I have to take my L because y'all know I had a 20-minute video come out earlier this week. Once you had Amari Cooper get traded to the Cleveland Browns, I said, you know what? Looking at Cleveland, looking at Baker Mayfield in particular and how this team just simply does not throw the ball. I don't care that Amari Cooper is going to be able to go out there and see less target competition than he had in Dallas. Amari Cooper is dead to me Well, let me pull this up and show y'all what I left in the comment section, because after we recorded that, the next day, you began to get those rumors that Deshaun Watson could potentially be heading over there. And of course, everything changed. So of course, I still had to leave the video up. We recorded an entire video after that trade with valuable information, but we put a little disclaimer down there in the comment section. We pinned that bad boy to the top, and let's see what that said. Let me try to share my screen real quick. Hopefully this works, and it's going to take 1 second. I apologize. Just let me do this. I have to. Okay. What does this say? Probably a good idea to wait until we see where Watson lands. If he goes to Cleveland, throw this video in the trash. You know that happened 2 days ago. Got 27 likes on it. And here, hopefully you did not listen to me a while ago and trade away Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper is now skyrocketing. He has a better quarterback throwing him the ball than he did in Dallas. Not only does he have a better quarterback throwing him the ball, but he's competing for targets with Anthony Schwartz and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, there's still an outside chance, of course, that they go out of their way and they bring in someone like Julio Jones. But let me pull up Amari Cooper, my Dynasty rankings, and let's just start spitballing. Let's try to figure out where we are going to be ranking this man, because I can tell you right now, he is way too low in our rankings. And we are also going to be moving up Nick Chubb. We are going to be moving up Kareem Hunt. I mean, Deshaun Watson is the tide that is lifting all boats here in Cleveland. There will be so much more production to go around. Now, yes, they're going to skew a little bit more pass happy, but that doesn't hurt Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb may have less rushing attempts, but they'll have more trips to the red zone and more sustained drives overall. So this helps Amari Cooper, helps Nick Chubb, helps Kareem Hunt, helps David Njoku, helps Harrison Bryant, helps Donovan Peoples-Jones, helps Anthony Schwartz, and helps whatever other free agent wide receiver that they are going to bring in. But let me pull up these rankings and just hang my head down in shame as we move Amari Cooper back up the rankings as we previously did. And y'all know I love Amari Cooper. I mean, we just spent probably 5 minutes of that 20-minute video talking about how much I've loved Amari Cooper for a very long time. One of my favorite prospects of all time coming out of Alabama. But as it stands, I have Amari Cooper as the wide receiver 36 in our Dynasty rankings, in the same tier as Rashad Bateman, Chase Claypool, and Calvin Ridley. Clearly, Amari, it does not belong with those other players. Now, he is going to jump the tier above with Mike Williams, Darnell Mooney, Chris Olave, and Amara St. Brown. He clearly has to go ahead of those options. He's going to jump Brandon Ayuk, Michael Thomas, Elijah Moore, Mike Evans. I mean, with Mike Evans as a wide receiver drafted in 2014 compared to Amari Cooper in 2015. With Mike Evans, he has a worse quarterback throwing him the ball this year in particular. Of course, Tom Brady, best quarterback, best athlete of all time. Not arguing against that. I live in Tampa. But still, if you're asking me, Mason, who do you want for this year for your receiver? Do you want 45-year-old Tom Brady or 26-year-old Deshaun Watson? Give me Deshaun Watson. He's jumping Mike Evans. He has to jump Michael Pittman, jumping Jerry Jeudy. He's up there with Keenan Allen. He's up there in the tier of Keenan Allen and DeAndre Hopkins. So as it stands, Amari Cooper is probably going to be moving up our Dynasty rankings at the minimum 13 spots. And I could easily hear an argument to have him ahead of someone like Keenan Allen, because I believe Keenan Allen drafted in 2013. No, I think Keenan Allen drafted in 2013 is going to be older than Amari Cooper. Will have a comparable quarterback to Amari Cooper. Will have increased target competition in the name of Mike Williams and Austin Eckler. So I think Amari probably has to go ahead of Keenan as well. I think Amari is going to be back to back with DeAndre Hopkins as wide receiver 21 and wide receiver 22 in these rankings. Okay, now we have Juju breaking as well. I will talk Juju in a live stream right after this, but let's continue to focus in on this Cleveland Browns situation. Let me give my initial reactions on where we are going to be moving Nick Chubb up to as well. And with Nick Chubb, this is a running back that we talked about in the mock draft today. I talked about it in a video about 3 days ago. Nick Chubb has never been a value in Dynasty outside of his rookie season and this offseason in particular, because with Nick Chubb, he's the same running back he's always been. He is the best committee running back in the NFL. So when you were drafting that player last offseason in the second round of startup drafts, that was horrendous because the role that Kareem Hunt has in that offense. But now that the Dynasty market has baked that price point in and he's fallen to the 6th round of these Dynasty startup drafts, I've been drafting him in real drafts. I've been drafting him in mock drafts. I've been drafting Nick Chubb actually a lot this offseason, which is kind of funny because y'all know every other video was me coming out and saying how overvalued Nick Chubb was last year in particular and just getting hate for it because he didn't catch passes. But now we have Nick Chubb ranked as running back 15 in the same tier as Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara. I mean, all these running backs are pretty much identical with their ages. I mean, yes, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara were drafted in 2017, but Nick Chubb actually stayed all 4 years at Georgia, drafted in 2018. So they're pretty much the same. I mean, if we were ranking these players in this range to begin with, we have to move Nick Chubb up, don't we? Especially if you're looking at the contract situation. I mean, with Mixon, Cook, and Kamara, they're all going into year 3 of their second contract compared to Nick Chubb going into year 2 of his second contract. So I'm a little bit more willing to bet on that guaranteed money in the case of Nick Chubb. So you know what? I think that we are probably going to we definitely have to jump Nick Chubb over Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. I don't think we can put him over Joe Mixon because with Mixon, I mean, this is also a situation that has improved over the past month with the Bengals going out there and investing into their offensive line. But still, that offensive line isn't anything close to what you have in Cleveland. And let's go find where we have Kareem Hunt in our rankings. I have Kareem Hunt at running back 37. And oh yeah, Kareem Hunt will be skyrocketing here. Kareem Hunt has to go ahead of Tony Pollard. He has to go ahead of Rashad Penny. I think we're going to be moving him ahead of Damian Harris as well. And Devin Singletary, because now all of a sudden, this is an offense that I think has probably the floor of a top 10 offense in the NFL. I don't see how it really gets anything worse than that based on what we've seen with Deshaun Watson, with one of the worst coaching staffs in the NFL, with Bill O'Brien in Houston, and one of the worst just organizations overall with how that team was run. Now, I know Cleveland, not much better whatsoever. Trust me, I understand it. But still, if we are looking at the Cleveland Browns, they at least have the offensive line to support Deshaun Watson. They also have the running backs just to contribute to that run game. And I would imagine that they're probably not done making moves. I mean, I would imagine that Julio Jones is probably looking over at this Cleveland Browns scenario going, you know what? I can be an every down player next to Amari Cooper with Deshaun Watson throwing me the ball. Probably looks pretty appealing to a player like Julio Jones at this point. So I hope this helped y'all with my initial reaction. I would love to know your opinion in the comment section. Please go down there and let me know what you were thinking in terms of, should I be willing to go out there and try to take someone like Deshaun Watson at the 105, at the 103? I don't think we really have to worry about him not playing based on the contract that he just signed and based on his production previously as an elite player in a crappy situation. I don't really see how Deshaun Watson has a floor anything lower than a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, and we've seen him be the quarterback 1 overall. So what else are we looking for? So sign me up with Watson, sign me up with Chubb, sign me up with Hunt, sign me up with Amari Cooper, despite me saying Amari Cooper was dead 3 days ago. Obviously, things change, variables change, and the upgrade from Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson could not be any more extreme. So thank you. Go down there, drop a like, and I will be live hopefully in 2 minutes, as long as it takes Thomas to make a Juju Smith-Schuster thumbnail. That's when I'll be live. I'll be live talking Juju Smith-Schuster in probably a minute or 2.